So the first thing you have to do is to understand yourself better, like as the sender, right? So you have to become more self-aware of like your own communication style and how you're going to be perceived by other people. So this assessment here is called the Five Voices Assessment, and we'll put this link down below because we want you guys to take this. Like, it's a really cool quiz that will give you some insight into how you communicate and how you could be perceived by others. And it's really interesting because sometimes, once you start taking this, we actually took it as a team at work before, and you start to realize like, oh gosh, like that's how I come across to other people. Like I thought I was so clear in what I was saying. And it just opens up a lot of conversation. So it's really a fun assessment. Like, I mean, if you're brave, have your other team members take it, and, you can even have patients take it, like, because it's really interesting to figure out, who you're talking to and kind of how they see the world and view communication. But then you also have to be careful, not to generalize. So as with any of these personality assessments, you don't want to just assume something just because someone has a certain test result. So just keep that in mind as well. But we'll post this for you guys and let you take it and then kind of read on about your voice.
And it's not a very long quiz, so it'll be a good insight for you. So now we're going to kind of flip the script a little bit from talking about yourself to now we're going to be talking about patients. So now we're going to talk about some things that might affect your receiver of your communication, aka your patients. So we want to talk about some common patient types that you might encounter and give you some ideas or tips to kind of help communicate to them and improve your messaging. Okay. So our first one is the skeptic. Okay. We've all seen them. Okay. This is the people that are seeking like clarification. They're the challenging patient. Those are the ones that are pounding you with 20 questions, making sure that at the end of this, it's going to be worth it. Okay. So they want the logic, they want the order, they want a systematic approach. They want someone that may really want to have that foundation and give them like that step by step. Okay, this is how we're going to get you there. Okay, well, what about this? Is it worth to me to do this? So a nice thing here is try to ask them like, what do they think? What do they think is going to work? This can be also an open to the conversation of talking about their beliefs. What do they feel about therapy? And see if there's anything that might affect their plan of care. Like, is there something else that underlying that you might not have known that could play into it? So this is a patient that really, really wants to know that the value is there. So it's more of that value piece. But you want to take into consideration of what they're talking to you about. And you don't want to discredit that, but you definitely want to be able to listen to them, but also keep them on track of this is where I want to go. And yes, we have thought this. This isn't just a type of whim type of activity. Okay. And then when they answer like any question that you give them, is share that like if they have a expectation, make sure that it could be reasonable or maybe at this time it's not valid. But don't discount it. Just say right now at this time and place, we might just not have to worry about that. We'll put that kind of on the back burner, but we'll talk about it another day because that's just another way. Everybody just wants to be heard. Okay. Now we're going to jump to the self critic. Okay. So these patients are generally a bit more pessimistic and unsure of themselves. Okay. So when working with these patients, you want to hear their concerns and empathize, but also give them a good synopsis of the journey of what you're trying to build. Okay. We're going back to that building that trust, building that hope that there can be an end result. Okay. But with their process of everything, you want to give them the feedback of where they were to where they are now, and then give them the small wins. Okay. Doesn't matter what type of win. Okay. Anything that you feel is going to be a positive that you can note as a change, because you want to give them that something that it's working. Okay. You don't want them to be like unsure or no, I don't see anything. Well, let's talk about this. And sometimes it might be just the perspective. Okay. So making sure that you give them a lot of like physical cues when you're paying attention to them during their exercise. Make sure that you show them success in almost every session will be benefit for them. And definitely give them kind of a wrap up of where they are will be good. Now we got to jump to the planner. Okay. So these are the people that have all, oh, I've done PT already, or no, I have this general idea of this is what you're going to do. Or our lovely patients is, you're just going to massage me for an hour. No, we got to kind of change that presumption a little bit. So they will be sensitive if you don't consider their expectations or their experiences. So making sure that you're showing them that you value what they're saying, but trying to take it all into consideration of where they're at currently. Okay. Recognize if the patient believes something is going to work, it's actually most likely going to work, even if it's a placebo or not. Okay. I'm a big believer that if there is a lot of placebo effect in medicine, that people still get better a lot of the times because of that strong belief. Okay. It's just believing that there is that something. Okay. So we want to definitely consider that patient's belief in our course of recovery in their plan of care. So keeping that in the back of your mind with these patients will be helpful. But making sure, like, once we build up that rapport, say I have a conversation. Let's just say, prime example. Okay. Hey, Mrs. Jones, there is something I would really like to try with you, and I think it would be a benefit for you. Would you be open to that? We've already set the precedence that we're trying to go after something that's going to be a benefit for them. So why would they say no? So it's just kind of working out and kind of feeling out your patients. But this is definitely something that over time, this will become a skill. Okay. And this is where we were talking about figuring out who your audience is and figuring out what you want to say and how to say it. All right. So you guys with us so far? You guys probably have seen these patients. So give us a yes down in the comments just to make sure that you're following along.
Yeah. Caitlin, that's hilarious. She said, the acute care skeptic, you're not big, strong, tall enough to get me up. I'm going to fall.
Oh, yeah.
All the time.
So we hear that a lot. So, I mean, I'm like 5'10". I work out, but I tell them, I was like, okay, we're not having a fall on my watch. Like, I got you. Like, we're quick. Our reaction time is there. So sometimes you never want to have a patient have to worry about falling, and that you have to catch them. So just make sure you catch them if it happens. But just kind of making sure that, hey, like, you can't judge a book by its cover. Like, you never know what I have bringing to the table. So it's just interesting to see how you can respond to those patients. So, and this is just a little bit of that insight. And like I said, feel out your patients and see what your audience is when you're talking to them.
Yeah. If they've got a good sense of humor, like sometimes I'll be like, nah, I'm not gonna let you fall. That's too much paperwork, you know?
Right.
So,
Right.
feel out your audience, but yeah, that always usually gets a good laugh, especially on a Friday afternoon, or something.
Yep.
All right. So let's keep rolling here. All right. So I'm going to talk to you guys about, a little more of those, the difficult patients as well. I know this tends to be, where people kind of struggle. So like the non-compliant patient. Okay. So these are the patients like everybody wants to write off. It's like, oh gosh, like great. Like they're not doing what I'm telling them to do. Like, why are they not doing what I'm telling them to do? Like, I've got all this knowledge. And so the biggest thing here is you got to kind of suspend your ego a little bit, you know, and recognize that, there's usually a reason why that you just don't know about. And so, kind of asking, kind of like digging into what the reason is for them not being able to get done whatever they need to get done. Like it could be other life stresses, like could be other limiting beliefs that you haven't addressed yet, could be some other like type of mental health issue. Like you just never know. Like, and this is big into kind of meeting them where they're at and then figuring out how you can decrease some of those barriers that they could have. So this could be something as simple as like, like I was saying, like time constraints or things like that. So what I like to do with patients that, who are just like, oh, I'm really struggling. Like I don't have time. Like recognize that you're asking them to do something that's a little bit out of their routine. So you're asking them to make a change, right? So one thing that I've used with patients like this is try to get them to like couple their home exercises or, anything that you're asking them to do with something that they're already doing throughout their day. So I don't know, just for instance, I don't know, doing calf raises while they're brushing their teeth, something like that to kind of put those things together. And then you might see that compliance like raise a little bit. If you're doing that. And then you can always like check with them, be like, kind of like, am I not, am I not being clear? Like, not in a confrontational way, of course, but just saying like, is something unclear? Like, and then, kind of asking them like, just saying, hey, you're kind of getting in the way, a little bit of what we're trying to do here, like, and just asking, like, just be like, like I've had to kind of tell people like, hey, if now is not a good time for you, like, I absolutely respect that. Because, things come up that are more important, sometimes in people's lives. Right. And so that's okay too, to be able to have that conversation with them. Because at a certain point, like, they're not benefiting either. Um, so that's just another one to keep in mind. So the next one is going to be like the ill-tempered patient. This is like the one that comes in and, you're just like, gosh, like they seem just so mean or, whatever. So this is one that you kind of want to kill with kindness. So a lot of times you'll find that this is like a defense mechanism of some sort. So Ashley and I treated a lady one time, and I mean, like, she was just like, yeah, she would come in and we're just like, oh, okay, great. Like, yeah, hey, how you doing? Just like obviously being super nice here and everything. But you can't judge, because once we built the rapport with her, and like, and we felt like we were getting nowhere, honestly, but once we built the rapport with her, that was she said, I've just had like really awful experiences with doctors in the past. And so I was expecting the same from you guys. So just recognize, that was her old bias coming into the equation, and had nothing to do with us or what we were doing. But, just recognizing that she had that belief on board, and, we had to slowly work to change that for her. So, just try to suspend your expectations, because people can definitely surprise you. All right. So the last one here, this is our overly friendly patient. If you haven't had one of these, you will eventually. So, this is like the patient, if they're not being, flirtatious or whatever, like, this can be anything that makes you uncomfortable, right? Okay. So like personal probing questions, just anything that, is impacting your ability, to be objective, or anything in that patient client or clinician client relationship that is just doesn't need to be there. So if it's not something that's like, too bad, I guess you can just say, how about we focus on you? Like, we don't want to waste your time talking about me. We're here to get you better. You can kind of redirect and then keep going from there. Obviously, if it's something more inappropriate, and you need to be a little more direct, you can always say, that's not appropriate. Let's just keep it professional here and then move on. You're not trying to shame somebody, but, you do have to really set those boundaries with some patients sometimes. And all of these patient examples, like, this is only about 15% of the time that you're going to come across a patient like this, but it's always helpful to be prepared and kind of have some ideas of like how you're going to handle a situation like that before it comes up. So now we're going to talk a little bit more about patient education.
All right. So now we're getting into, okay, so everybody's kind of got a little bit of your analogies. Okay. So these are just some of those. So these are common patient education that I use, and we can mostly utilize for any patient that you have coming through, depending on what they need. But some of our favorites. Okay. So the first one is, our body is in a safe and protection mode. We have to reassure it that it can move safely and build that tolerance back again. Okay. So this is kind of going to your patients that are just fearful of moving, feel like they're going to bend over or move that foot any direction and it's going to break. So it's just kind of helping those people with some of that chronic pain or that fear to really be able to get back into understanding of us saying, okay, it's okay that we move. We just kind of have to change up what your body is feeling right now. We don't necessarily want to say it's just in your head, you're going to be fine, just move, kind of thing. That's a little bit more insensitive. So we want to be understanding of their belief. Yeah, Megan says the eggs. But we want to understand their belief, but also educating that, hey, you're not going to break if you move. It's okay to be fearful, but let's try something simple. and just show them what could possibly be, like what could be a possible positive movement. So, kind of educating them in that piece. Then we can jump to, we all know it, motion is lotion. Okay. Our bodies are made to move. Okay. So, you have all these lovely pain relieving chemicals in your brain that releases when your heart rate gets up. Okay. Let's open up your internal drug cabinet. Okay. Telling those people that are so stuck into that pain that let's try something active. Okay. You can always do something that is not involved in the injury. Say it's a leg or something. Try doing a bike or do something different that you're kind of tricking the brain a little bit, but you're not just focusing in on, okay, I can't do this. Like we said, we want to be able to educate them that, hey, your body is made to move. It is made of that muscles, the tendons, organs. We are made to move. So it's going to be okay that we get you to move. But sometimes patients just don't realize, okay, well, if I don't move, I won't hurt. Well, we got to change that. So kind of breaking down a little bit more of that education piece to them will be benefit. Here's another one. So our muscles use these coordinated patterns that are controlled by the brain to help us move fluidly. Pain and injury can cause them to get a little bit out of whack. My role is to help you hack the system to get your muscles working in the proper order again so you can move freely. Okay, what is that? That's neuro-re-ed. Okay, we're changing some of the patterns. So, really explaining to them early on in the rehab process that we're trying to change up some of those nerve fibers. Okay, we're trying to change what the purpose of their body is doing. So, this will also kind of reiterate, okay, this is why I'm making you do X, Y, and Z exercise. Oh, I didn't know that. This is also that other education piece. Don't just try to assume that most people understand. We have all this knowledge, so now we just have to break it down for them to understand. And the more that they understand, the better they will, like get better with their recovery and also want to get better. But think of it like you don't want to lead them blind. Like nobody's really going to follow if they don't know what the end result is. So these are just some of our general favorites. I use a lot of the one of the construction site. Okay, say a muscle or a part of the body part of the body is working way too hard that the other bodies and the other support system is just kind of hanging out. That one guy on that construction site that's doing all the work and everybody else is just kind of hanging out on lunch break. Kind of a lot of people resonate with that because they're like, oh, okay, I get it. So it's just finding what works for you. And I'm sure as you've all have worked that you've all have your own some tips and tricks up your own sleeve. So it's just kind of playing to your audience and playing to your patient for it to be resonated with them that you can kind of get past a barrier or kind of help reach some of your goals.